All right, the next item on the agenda is to go out of closed meeting. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Perez?
Aye.
7 ayes.
And the next item is the certification of the closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on the date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board that such closed meetings was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting required by Virginia law are discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies. Only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, considered by the Board. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Chair Perez?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Prior to our invocation, I would like to recognize the Wells family and let them know that our prayers are with them, and thank you very much for your service and hug service over all these many years. If we'll take a moment, please, now and stand and have a few moments of silence. And following that, we'll have our pledge led by our county administrator.
Let us pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Where am I at here? Okay, the next item on the agenda is a delegation, the Virginia Corporate Extension Office, and Michelle Dickerson.
Good evening. We want to thank you again for the opportunity to just give you some highlights of some of the programs going on in Virginia Cooperative Extension. And we thought it would be a nice idea to, tonight to just give you a few highlights of the entire program since we have 2 new supervisors with us. So we try to give oral quarterly reports just to keep the board aware of some of the things that are going on in Cooperative Extension. We're downstairs in the corner and we just want the board to recognize some of the things Extension is doing. So I'm the 4-H agent. My name is Michelle Dickerson and I am the 4-H agent, and I wanted to just highlight some of the 4-H programs that we offer in our county. So we do a lot of school enrichment programs, so we provide programs at the request of teachers, so that can be a variety of different topics and ideas, but I tend to do a lot of things in environmental sciences and in science and technology. So for example, we have a 4th grade program we do monthly with the 4th grade science students at Price's Fork Elementary. We do field trips on stream quality assessment with our 6th grade science students at Blacksburg Middle School and Christiansburg Middle School. We work with the outdoor classroom and Isaac Walton League outdoor park. And so when teachers request programs, we try to provide those for them. Embryology, all sorts of different programs along those lines. We provide after-school clubs and programs, a lot of those in environmental sciences. We have a large group of college students in the College of Natural Resources and Environmental Education that do programs called Wild About Nature. It's an environmental education after-school program. And we do that in most of the Blacksburg schools. Then we have Master Naturalist volunteers that are leading junior naturalist programs at 3 of our elementary schools. We have quite a few community clubs. We have a very active livestock club, and one of our students on the Montgomery County 4-H Livestock Club is going to be traveling to Scotland this year, competing in the international livestock judging competition. We have a couple of horse clubs. One is the Horse Play Horse Club, and the other one is the Radford Rough Riders. They meet in Radford, thus their name. We have an active teen club that does a lot of leadership and community service projects, Teens for a Better Tomorrow, a shooting club, the New River Valley Sharpshooters, an active homeschool club, a junior master gardener certification club, Country Kids Club, and then I forgot ours in Shawsville. The name of that club is the Pickle People. They named themselves. So we try to work with a lot of our community clubs on leadership, project activities, etc. Some more of our 4-H programs include our residential camping program, and that's a big one for us. We camp about 150 children from Montgomery County. Work with teens all year on preparing them for being teen counselors. So this year we're almost full with camp, and we'll have probably around 150 again. But we camp with our 4-county cluster about 400 children. So it's a big program for us. We have state 4-H Congress and leadership things like Citizenship Washington Focus in the summer that we provide scholarships for students to go and spend a week in D.C. and meet other legislators. We do a lot of specialty programs right now as we're speaking. Our Vet Science Workshop Series, we have about 40 kids enrolled in that, and we have professors in the School of Veterinary Medicine that are providing programs for kids in vet science. We do a mini garden project each year. Junior Hockey Showcase is an ag field day we provide for all the 4th graders in Montgomery County in the fall every year. And most of the schools participate in those, not all, but most. We provide programs for Kids Tech University, which is a science and technology program that Tech offers every single year, and we always try to have exhibits there. We have an annual livestock show, horse show, and a lot of our kids compete in area fairs. And then right now we're working with our wildlife habitat evaluation program team to prepare them for the state competition and the national competition in Texas this year. So just some of my other duties. I'm the unit coordinator for our office. I do a lot of quarterly and annual reporting, serve on curriculum committees in our area, work with our volunteer leaders. I'm the only full-time person in 4-H, and so we work through our volunteers to provide programming and we have a lot of volunteers, particularly through Master Gardeners and Master Naturalists, raise money for our 4-H programs, participate in staff development, and conduct our annual Achievement Night program to recognize the accomplishments of our 4-Hers. So just a couple of pictures here. The one in the top left, we just had a group to go up to 4-H Day at the state capitol, and they had an opportunity to sit down with Senator Edwards and talk to him. And you can see all the kids we take to 4-H camp in the bottom left-hand corner. That's from last year's camp. Our shooting club kids participated in the state shoot this year. That's a couple of them. Livestock shows, horse shows, our presentation contest every year, and we're the first junior master gardener program in the state to actually receive certification. So that's in the top right-hand corner. So that's just a little overview of our Montgomery County 4-H programs, and we try to provide a report once a quarter, and if you have questions for me, I'm glad to answer those. I did want to just mention we don't have anybody reporting for Ag and Natural Resources here tonight. That person will come at the next meeting. But we have 91 active master gardeners that are involved in many projects. So they do so many great things. They work with our Junior Master Gardener program. They do projects like at the county's museum. They maintain the gardens there. And then our ag agent that's helping to cover our county right now answers questions about pesticide recertification. They do classes on that. They do grafting classes. So we'll hopefully have some more detail about the A&R program for you at our next report. Dawn Barnes is our Family and Consumer Science agent. She's going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in Family and Consumer Sciences. So does anybody have any questions for me?
Questions of Michelle? Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Short people. We believe the family unit is the cornerstone of our healthy community, and the programs that we do are designed to follow through with that belief. One of the programs is the Organ Wise Guys and Healthy Weights, Healthy Kids. We've partnered with the school system here in Montgomery on those. Both the children and the teachers have received training, and it's designed so that it will hopefully build good nutritional practices with the youth as they grow older. Serve Safe and Cooking for Crowds is either a 16 or a 6-hour, depending on which program it is, that is training for restaurant staff, caterers, and other food preparers, and also temporary food vendors. Participants, if they receive a test, get a certificate, get certification, and that's one of the ways that we can ensure that the food that we are eating out and about is meeting some of the qualifications for food safety that need to be there. Financial literacy is another program that we do. In the course of the session, we address spending plans or budgets, credit reports, debt reduction, and savings. Savings is a very important one, and we work with both youth and adults along the way. Our adult audiences include court-ordered, Department of Justice referred, agency referred. We have some agencies that we partner with, and we just get phone calls from time to time wanting some help and not knowing where to turn, and we're able to help them with those. We also reach a fairly large youth audience with a reality store, which is something we've been offering in the school system. And with Reality Store, it's a hands-on activity where they get to actually have an income for the day, a family size, and a marital status, and now that they have to do the same thing that we do every month and try to meet the bills with the income that we have. Food preservation is one of the other programs, and as folks are growing more of their own food, they want to know how to preserve it and make it last longer throughout the year. So we do some hands-on canning workshops and some overall just how do you go about it, mostly for adults, but from time to time we've had some classes with youth in it, so we're hoping if they learn early, they will be doing lots of food preparation and preservation through the years. The last one, we have a program of Master Food Volunteers, and our Master Food Volunteers will be working in the community with the Choose My Plate, USDA's new Choose My Plate, and doing demos and workshops of how to prepare, to purchase, and to get the most nutritional value out of the foods that they are growing or the foods that folks have available to them. Any other questions?
Any questions, Ms. Barnes?
Amazing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. At the next item on our agenda is to go into closed meeting. Do I have or into work session? Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Freed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Chair Lettuce?
Aye.
7 ayes.
And our work session is our National Citizen Survey. Ms. Ritchie will be presenting. Thank you.
Good evening. How are you?
Okay, well, I'm here tonight to talk to you all a little bit about the results of the National Citizen Survey. These are our draft findings. The National Citizen Survey was undertaken because the Board of Supervisors identified a citizen survey as a top priority in your Vision 2020 plan. So the National Citizen Survey was selected because it's a turnkey citizen survey service, and it allows us to benchmark comparisons with more than 500 jurisdictions in more than 40 states. The survey results can be used to monitor trends in resident opinion, measure government performance, can be used for budgeting and strategic planning, and it can also be used to benchmark service ratings. A little bit about the survey background and methods. A representative sample of 1,200 residents and households in both the two towns and the unincorporated area received surveys. Of that number, 344 surveys were returned, giving us a 30% response rate, which I understand from the survey officials, this is a pretty strong response rate. With this response rate, we have a plus or minus 5% margin of error, and the data was statistically weighted to reflect the populations of the two towns and the rural areas of the county. The survey looked at the overall quality of our community, and all of these areas ranked similar to the national benchmarks, and that is the county as a place to live, our overall quality of life, and individuals' neighborhoods as a place to live. One area that ranked below the national benchmark was the amount of people who recycled from their home at least once in the prior 12 months. And even though 74% of residents who responded to the survey do that, that was considered below the national benchmark. For land use planning and zoning, the overall appearance of the county and the quality of new development in the county were similar to the national benchmarks. For economic sustainability, the number of people who rank these various items either excellent or good were all above the national benchmark, and they looked at overall quality of businesses and service establishments in the county, our shopping opportunities, and employment opportunities. Public safety, in almost all areas, we ranked above the national benchmark. We asked people how safe they felt in their neighborhoods and in the downtown or town areas, and both during the day and after dark. Community inclusiveness, we ranked similar to the benchmark as a place to raise children and also to retire. In the availability of affordable quality child care, we ranked below the average or the benchmark. Public trust. The overall image or reputation and direction that the county is taking was ranked similar to others in the communities that were surveyed nationwide. The value of services for taxes paid to the county was ranked below. Montgomery County employees were ranked above the national benchmark in the following areas: knowledge, overall impression, and responsiveness. We also asked an open-ended question, and that question was, if you could change one thing about Montgomery County, what would it be? And as you can see, we have a lot of answers that sound the same or not. Lower taxes, raise taxes, or more businesses to help with taxes. We asked the survey recipients, in order to avoid cutting services, please indicate your support for the following items: recreational fees, public safety response fees, and consolidated site fees were above the 50% mark. Reduced tax breaks for farmland, open space, and nonprofits. Basically, 45% indicated they would somewhat or strongly support reduced tax breaks. A car tax increase and a real estate tax increase were indicated as somewhat or strongly supported by 36 to 38% of the respondents. If the county were to reduce services, indicate your support for reducing these services. And these are the items that we selected. Of course, there would be others, but these were the ones that we asked citizens about. Recreation programs, park maintenance, 47% would somewhat or strongly support reducing these services. consolidated trash sites, library services, fewer deputies or funding for law enforcement, public schools, and at the bottom, public safety, fire and rescue. Some of the conclusions. Respondents ranked the following items as above the national benchmark, and that was the quality of the county staff, economic development, the sheriff's office, courts, sewer and water utilities, and public schools. Those that ranked below the benchmark included recycling, the quality of parks, open spaces, the number of people who watch cable television, and emergency preparedness. And all of these surveys, all of the responses are posted on montva.com. Do you have any questions?
Any questions of board members or comments?
Yeah,
Mr. Creed?
I'll start off. We have 7 districts within Montgomery County. Can this be equally divided up? Can we tell where these responses came from?
We have a map that geoplots where the responses came from. We don't have numbers, but we did look at the disbursement of the surveys to make sure that every district was approximately equally represented in the answers.
Okay, and when you say approximately, what? I've heard some crazy things on approximately.
Well, 1,200 would be the total number of surveys that were mailed to citizens, and whatever 7 divided by 100, 1,200 would be. Now we didn't, so the addresses were not selected to equally represent districts precisely, but we did look at the number of residents in each town who were represented to make sure that they were not overrepresented or underrepresented in the responses.
And the only other question I have is back on page 7, where it's got the, how many folks would like to or would be willing to do away with some of the services they get. And I read it there that we don't have a majority in any of those, and yet what I heard was that they were in favor of it. So I just...
Well, in order to avoid cutting services, indicate your support for, and then we gave some possible responses.
I just wonder how you can take a negative and make it a positive, that's all.
Any other?
How much did the survey cost? I was just curious.
The total survey cost was $12,550, which was considerably lower than some of the other places that we considered, such as the Weldon Cooper Center and other organizations that also do surveys of this nature.
Is it fair to say that we utilize surveys like this to help us entice businesses and bring businesses in when we have positive results and the like?
I think that's one way that the survey could be used, yes.
One of the primary ways we want to use this as well is we had some of the preliminary results as we began to put some of the budget together, and of course that it had some influence, but a larger influence is going to be once we get through this budget cycle and have the opportunity to spend some time with the board members later in the spring. We're still going to do a retreat. And we want to talk to you about visioning out for the future, and a lot of the information from this I think will be used to help guide some thoughts as we go out into the future. A lot of assumptions I think over the last couple of years have been made on what people want or how they want it, and the board prior to you coming on board and Supervisor Gable coming on board had said that it would be good to have some additional information from the public, and so we looked for a group that could do that at a fairly economical cost, and that's how we came up with these guys.
Thanks.
Isn't this the first time we've ever done a survey?
Yes, ma'am.
To my knowledge.
It is.
And
Yes.
it came out of us having our retreat that
Yes,
time?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I think it's interesting, as Mr. Crete pointed out, about the what people would want to cut. I mean, nothing breached 50%. I mean, the highest was 47%, so people, at least the survey respondents, don't want services cut. I'm curious, though, on the conclusions, that one of the things that we ranked below the benchmarks on was emergency preparedness. I was wondering if you could you talk a little bit about why, not necessarily why people are ranking this below, but how you came to that conclusion, what the questions were that...
The question that was asked about that was to indicate what you felt was the quality of service provided, and the answers could be excellent, very good, not very good, and poor.
Mm-hmm.
And so they took those answers and took the answer, compared it to what other localities who have taken the same survey indicated as their response.
Did we get any written comments on that, Ruth, or was it just check one of the...
It was one of the ones where you basically just, indicate what the quality of the service was. It wasn't indicated on the open-ended question.
Okay. Because I'm just curious why people were... I mean, that's something I would be particularly interested in.
I agree.
If it might be a fact that people don't know about the services that we offer, or perhaps that we're just not meeting their needs, and that's a more serious concern.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
I think with any answer that you get, you would really have to look behind what the answers represented, and do some research into why the questions were answered the way they were, and this survey's not going to tell you that.
yeah. This is a snapshot, if you will. It's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Ruth.
Thank you. We'll certainly be having further discussion on this in the weeks and months ahead.
Okay, now do I have a motion to go out of work session, please?
So
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Hi.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Willis?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is our public hearing. The following public hearing was advertised pursuant to law in the Burghs of the Roanoke Times on March 4th and March 7th and March 11th, 2012. And the purpose of the public hearing is a joint public hearing with the Virginia Department of Transportation 6-year plan on secondary road systems of the state highway. And Mr. David Clark, I believe, is going to present. Hello, David.
Good evening. Yes, tonight is the annual public hearing for the secondary 6-year construction plan for Montgomery County. This public hearing is being held in accordance with state law. We do this every year to look over the 6-year plan, take public comment for suggestions and for adoption of the new plan, which will probably take place next month. We'll take comments this month, and on a draft plan that I will present, which all is just a draft plan. Changes can be made before the board adopts it next month. This is for secondary roads numbered 600 and above. We've already had a public hearing on back in the fall on primary and interstate that takes place. There'll be another one, reallocation hearing probably in June on primary roads. This is just for the secondary system. In recent years, as you all know, the allocations for secondary construction have dropped dramatically. Probably 10 years ago, we were getting well over $1 million, 1.5 million, I think, in a few years. We're now down to around 109,000 for this year. So as you can see, we've had to cut the roads that were in the plan and been waiting on the 6-year plan for years off. There simply wasn't the money to stretch out that far. We're struggling really now to just finish a couple that are still in the plan, although with the use of a sort of a reduced construction standard, where you don't have as wide a road, you don't have as wide a shoulders, you don't get as much right of way, you don't cut the banks quite as flat, called the Rural Rustic Road Program, for roads that don't expect to see a whole lot of development, a whole lot of traffic. We haven't been able to stretch some of the dollars that were remaining in the plan. We did Mount Pleasant Road that way last year. We've done a number of the roads that have been done with revenue sharing that way. In fact, most of the road construction in the last several years has come out of Montgomery County's revenue sharing program, where the county puts up half the money, VDOT puts up the other half. There simply just has not been nearly enough coming out of the secondary road allocation. Montgomery County is putting up 5 times the amount that they're getting from the secondary construction, just to show you how the revenue sharing program compares with what you're now getting for road construction through the secondary allocation. I'll go through very briefly, because there's not much in the plan. A draft plan. We will then take public comments, and I have the list of those that have signed up to speak. And then I and my staff, with the county administrator or with a committee made of maybe a couple board members, we can take a look at the comments, take a look at the plan, see if there's any changes that can be made. I know at one time we got a group together, rode around and looked at some of the roads. I'm glad to do it again, although again, there's not a whole lot to add to the plan, if any, at this time. As we develop some of the projects that are currently in the plan as rural rustic, we may have some funds that can be shifted to next year, maybe hopefully next year at this time, probably not this year, but next year at this time, we might be looking at perhaps adding another road, depending on how these projects turn out. We just don't have the estimates on these current roads as rural rustic roads yet. So right now they're still carrying their allocation or their estimate for a wide type of road. So anyway, I'll go through the draft plan and then we'll take public comment. First item that we always have are various countywide allocations, cost centers. This is for subdivision review, right-of-way, surveying, engineering, incidental type things that have to be services we provide, VDOT provides to the county, to developers and private citizens that have to have there's a cost associated with it. We charge it to those various countywide items. And that really actually is taking up the bulk of the allocation. Next on the plan is Mount Pleasant Road. This is the second portion of that. We did a project a year or so ago that went up from Allegheny Springs Road to the bridge. This will take us to the bridge and take it to Split Railroad, just beyond Split Railroad. We think we can develop that whole thing, rural rustic, and don't have an estimate on that. We should already have the funds available to do that. Next is City Church Road at 606. This is also reconstruction and surface treating of an unpaved road. Third on the list is Piney Woods Road on 600. This is a federal project. Those that have been on the board for a while remember that we had to add a federal route because a lot of our funds are federal funds, which in general are not available to gravel roads. They're only available to roads above a certain classification. It's got to be a major collector road as defined by the Federal Highway Administration. As it turns out, Montgomery County had a gravel road that was classified as a major collector. Piney Woods Road was available for federal funds. We're fortunate to be able to get an unpaved road done in the county and be able to use federal funds. So that's not taking any of your secondary allocation. That's got funds on it. You're not getting any federal funds anymore into the county. so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Fourth on the plan is Mount Pleasant Road, the bridge. This is the section in between, right after the part we finished paving, and the next section. That's got a add date that's far in the future, but it's in the plan just so you know that that's a road, that's a secondary project in the plan, but it's also using separate bridge funds. It's not taking money out of your secondary road construction. Just the same way, I could have easily put a couple more in here, but I put this in because it matches up with the road plan. But around 613 Blue Springs Road, the bridge that has been awarded, that's going to be under construction here soon. That's also a secondary road project, but it's a bridge project, and it's using federal bridge funds, not using funds that come out of your secondary allocation. And then fifth on the list is Craig's Creek Road. This was previously in the plan. We did a revenue sharing project to widen, lay back the slopes, widen, put in new pipe. It is available now, we think, for surface treating under a Rural Rustic Road program. Funds needed to that will not affect any of the roads in the plan as well. And that, unfortunately, is it. That's the extent of the projects we have that use the funds that we have. The 109,000 doesn't go very far. We used to get 1.5, 2 million a year. You can do the math and see how long $109,000 in 1 year takes. How many years it takes just to equal one other, 15 years to get what used to get 1 year allocation. So, with that, unless the board has any other questions about this plan, I'll open it up to public hearing. I don't know if Ms. Swinney will call the names. Mr. Close, you have a list of
Yeah, I have a list.
Okay.
Is there any questions?
I'll sit back and I'll take notes of the speakers, and unless anyone has any questions on the current plan.
Is there any questions of the board for Mr. Clark?
Yeah, as usual. It has to do with Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant Road was at one time one project started at Allegheny.
And then it was three projects.
And then it went to 3 projects, and now it's turned into 4 projects. The 3 plus the 1.
No, actually, we're
Well, we've
combining.
already done one.
Well, actually, we're combining 2. This used to stop at Lavender, and I'm changing this to add it to Split Road, because I think we can do that under the Rural Rustic Road program.
Well, I understand that, but it's still 4.
Right, the other one was dropped long ago.
Yeah. And the problem that I have with all of that, I'm glad that we're going to get something done, is that the very worst part of that whole road is what we haven't done. I don't think anybody can have any argument about that. It's just somehow, some way, this Mount Pleasant, I know on our next slide down, it was put in again at number 7, but we need to work on that if we ever possibly get any money, even if it's at 100 foot at a time, on some revenue sharing money or something, whatever it takes. That definitely is the worst part of that whole road. So that's all.
Anybody else? I have just one question, David. Explain the funding for the Rural Rustic.
Rural Rustic Road is simply a design standard. It is not a separate funding
So
source.
it's out of that 109,000?
109,000 is your 109,000.
Okay.
You can design it. You can design it to interstate standards.
Yeah.
If you'd like, 4-lane divided. If you'd like to do a secondary.
But there's no extra funds for the state.
Or Rural Rustic Road is simply another standard.
Yeah.
That is basically 14 to 16 feet of pavement, 1 foot shoulder on each side. Usually, with any kind of heavy traffic or large vehicles, you'd like to do it a little bit more than that. But again, we're trying to make our dollars stretch as far as we can. And it's simply a reduced width.
Paving
sharper
place,
curves.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's simply a reduced standard that allows us to just go in and, try to pave as many roads as we can with the limited funds we have.
Okay. Thank you very much. No other questions. We have a public hearing. We have several people signed up for the public hearing, and I'll read your name if you'll step forward, and you'll have 5 minutes. And the first name, I'll give your name and address. The first name on the list is Goldie Alderman. Miss Alderman?
Remind Jim to say that this is just for the roads in the public hearing.
Thank y'all for hearing me tonight.
Could you speak in the mic, please?
I've never done anything like this before. This is my first time, so if I blunder, please forgive me. I live on Old Sourwood Road in Pilot, Virginia. I have several pictures here up our road. It is highly dangerous. I have tried every way in the world I can to get it widened. When it snows, we're in there. They will not come and do anything for our road for 2 or 3 days. It is so dusty in the summer. You can't enjoy sitting outside. There's 2 school buses that runs that road every day, well, 5 days a week, and it's twice a day. And if you meet the school bus, you've got to either go in the ditch or in the bushes. The weeds has grown out in the road to the point that you just can't make it. You're either going to hit the ditch, the bus, the logging truck, or whoever else you're meeting on the road. And if I didn't, let me apologize for not making every one of you guys a copy of these pictures if you'd like to see them. And just
If you
run
want to bring
through
over,
them.
we'll pass them along.
If you can leave them with the clerk too, we can make sure
Yeah.
everybody has a copy.
I wasn't aware that I had to make everybody.
Well, that's okay.
You're fine.
There's one real steep hill there. As you come over Sourwood, you come up a steep grade, you come around a curve, and then you go down the hill. And when you do, there is nothing there in the world to keep you from going over probably about a 50-foot embankment. Thank God nobody has gone over it. Years ago, it used to be an old rail fence, an old fence there. People knew how far to get over. But now, it is gone. And it's about maybe a foot of nothing but weed and gravel there that looks like road. And it horrifies me every time I see that school bus come out that road, that they're gonna go too far over that road. We've got safe bus drivers, thank goodness for that. They are well aware of it because they've driven that road so long. And I just wish that we could either, if whatever we can do to get this road fixed for us, because it's 17 families out there now on a 1-mile road. And everybody works there. If they don't work, they're retired and they have worked. And I just would appreciate it if somebody would just hear us. I mean, before somebody gets hurt really bad on that road, there has been 5 wrecks that I know of in the past year on top of Sourwood. A little UPS guy lost his job last winter because he sideswiped a fella on that road. It was nowhere for neither one of the guys to go. When they come up over the hill, they just went in together. I have actually had someone to hit me coming down the other side because when it snows and we got ice, it's ice there from the time it falls until spring. They don't work it. Somebody don't get the job done on top of Sourwood. And it's very dangerous. And this car was coming across Sourwood. He seen us. He hit his brakes. Thank God he hit us. If he hadn't hit us, he would have went over the embankment. And it's just a matter of time because we've got young kids out there driving now. And it's just a matter of time before somebody hits somebody head on and really causes a lot of problems. And I appreciate y'all hearing me, and I hope I didn't leave nothing out.
Can we hang on to the pictures?
You can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Alderman. The next speaker is Louise Hudgens.
telling you it is too. Well, our road was approved by Dan Drew because he told me so back in 2002. And we first started our complaint in 1997. Everybody signed a petition. They got our social security numbers on file, and they got our addresses, and they said we've been approved. They have surface treat. Well, they paved Sunflower Road, and we're in between Sunflower and Fisher View Mountain, and they neglect us. And like they say, it's about 18 or 19 families on our road now because we've had 2 new ones to move in since we signed up. And you can look at the pictures and see what kind of road, if that ain't a rustic, what do you call it?
Rustic road, rural rustic.
Yeah. If that ain't one, now you tell me one, if Wayside down there can get paved or surface treated, I think ours can too. And I'm not waiting for no 6-year plan if I have to go to Richmond. And I've already got papers going there. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hudgens. The next speaker is Burtis Barker.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my first time here too.
Okay.
But I live on Salwood Road, and we have people out there, and I'm one of them, that have bad hearts. And in the wintertime, we can't get our road straight. Our neighbors with 4-wheelers, they have blades that they put on and scrape the roads for us because the bulldozers won't come. And when they do come, all they do is tear the roads up. They scrape the gravel that's already in the roads, and then they level them, but they don't fix the potholes. And the road is real narrow in some places, and I have been run off the road 3 times since I've lived out there. But once I rode the ditch to keep hitting a man in a Dodge truck head on, and I didn't even know the guy, he didn't even live out there. But just like the other people before me said about the road, it is really dangerous. And there's 2 hills on there. When you come up both of them, you can't see nothing on the other side of that road until you get to the top. And yes, Dan Drew, I talked to him myself Saturday night, and he said he did approve that road to be paved in 2002. And that was when he was the supervisor, and he's no longer the supervisor of the roads now, but he did himself tell me that. And I just wanted to verify to y'all that the roads are bad, and if you ain't got a 4-wheel drive, you can't get out of that road in the wintertime. And I thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Burtis. The next speaker is Howard Eaves.
Good evening, and thanks for this opportunity. I'm representing the community of Wake Forest, Virginia, and this is a request from the residents of the community of Wake Forest, Virginia, to construct or repair 2 bridges in the community, with special emphasis on the second bridge that seems to be continually deteriorating. I gave you copies of the statement that I'm reading now, and there are some photos also with notations on the back concerning the picture on the front of the page. Okay? The second bridge does not allow the water to flow on it properly, and I have a picture there that's depicting the pipe under the bridge is flattening out, and that's causing on the other side of the bridge the water to stagnate. And during the summer months, when it gets stagnant out there, it's a breeding ground for our favorite friend, the mosquito. And there's been some repair work done to the work, because at one time the bridge, it was not just soil there, and it deteriorated to the point they came in and put stones in it, which alleviated the situation to a certain degree. But there's no confidence that this is going to sustain for how long this would work and so forth. And the first bridge, I have a picture of that. It's kind of narrow for two vehicles to try to pass it. It would be kind of dangerous and would cause a collision. We could live with a one-lane bridge sign in that situation. We think maybe that would be a solution to that. We'll, as a community, are open to any suggestion that that comes up. Okay, and also I have pictures there of some of the road conditions of the potholes and that have been repaired, and it's just not working. The road is really rough, and in my estimation, I'm not an expert in this area, it needs some repair work done to it. And we realize that we are selected for improvement. The request would possibility be placed in the 6-year improvement plan. And we are asking that special consideration be given for immediate assessment and assurance that the bridge is sturdy and strong enough to withstand the traffic flow. We have school buses, rescue squads coming in and out of the community. At times we have elderly people there. And if that one bridge, the second bridge goes out, that's the only way that the residents on that side of the community have out of the community. So that was really a special concern of ours. And at best, if we're including it in the long-term plan for complete renovation or replacement of the bridge at the end of Wake Forest Road, would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we keep the pictures, Mr. Reeves?
I'm sorry.
Can we keep these?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Passing those down that way.
And the next speaker is Brett Blankenship. Okay. There is nobody else signed up to speak, but if anybody in the audience would like to come and speak, please do so. And again, you have 5 minutes, and please state your name and address.
On the 6-year road plan.
On the 6-year road plan, on this public hearing.
Hey, Joe.
I'd like to talk to you about Yellow Sulphur Road again.
Do you want to give us your name and address, please?
I'd like to speak to you about Yellow Sulphur Road again. I didn't even hear it on the agenda. And every time Yellow Sulphur Road is placed a little higher on the list, then other roads continue to get put above us again. And I don't understand this. We've been on the 6-year plan since '84. I bought property on Yellow Sulphur Road in '84, and they promised us that something was going to be done with that road. Well, that's been 25 years or longer, and we're still on a pig path there. It's all it is. Every time it rains, it's, there's pictures also. Every time it rains down there, it's nothing but mud. Repairs on our vehicles, broken shocks, gearbox. I've replaced 2 on power steer gearboxes on my truck because it's nothing but a washboard down there.
Could we get your name and address, please?
Joe Dowdy, 2899 Yellow Sulphur Road.
Okay, thank you.
And it's just, they'll scrape it, try to smooth it up, dump a few gravels on it, and then it's back to a mud. School buses, I've seen one school bus down there that had to get towed out because it got ran out of the road and over the ditch. Saw deputy sheriff down there one day and I asked him, he was stuck. And he said somebody came down through there sideways in the gravel and ran him out of the road. And I know everybody's roads needs improvement. But this one, we've been promised for almost 30 years that something's going to be done, and it hadn't. Can you explain why? Anybody?
Nope.
I can't tell you at this moment.
You told yourself on the phone that road would never be paved.
What?
When I called you at your house, when
Yeah.
I spoke to you, you said that road would probably never be paved. Now, you did.
Okay. If you say so, Joe, I believe you. I know your mama and your daddy are for you, and you tell the truth.
Mr. Clark,
But,
I
yeah,
understand.
can we get with Mr. Clark on this and get some information back to you?
that's what,
Because
We can ask
I'm
our
not sure where
county
we're at on that
administrator.
since the last meeting.
since Mr. Clark is here, you might be able to get a response from him. What?
We'll do something with the road. I mean, if they're not gonna pave it, we would be tickled to death just to get, Circuit Street.
That's the same thing.
Well, I mean,
You don't have the funds to do it. I told you, we're getting, 15 times less.
Yeah.
We used to get, we've cut the road from 6-year plan, 20 or 30 roads to 5.
I know they
Yeah, that's true.
581, 81, there's a lot more traffic and stuff out there.
Yeah.
Right.
But 25, 30 years, we promised to have something done.
As far as that, we just cut the plan. I was out in 2002, 10 years ago. We've been in the plan there for 10 years.
Joe, I think, if I said that to you, it's because it's so much to be done and we get no money for it. And that's probably why I said it'll probably never be paid, because we don't get enough money. You ask him to pay today, he just said $109,000 to pave roads in place, and that's not paving. I mean, it's just sort of skimming over them. We don't get the money, and we haven't had the money. And you're right, your road has been on there. I know when Mr. Mars was here, he talked over and over again about what were we going to do to Yellow Sulphur Road. And I remember going down that road with the road viewers, and all the board are the road viewers. And yes, it is terrible. I mean, you're exactly right. You're not.
Last year, one of the state highway department's motor graders went over the bank there trying to fix the road. I mean,
It is, it's
they had to
terrible.
shut the road down for like 6 hours to get him, back up on the road.
Joe, I don't know what we do about it, because if we only get so much money,
Well, I understand, but I mean,
but I don't, and these are the 6-year road plans, and all of these have been on the road plan for 6 years, forever, almost. And we just we don't get the money to do it. All we do is maybe once in a while patch up a place or put a little bit in. You can hear Mr. Creed talk about Mount Pleasant. You can hear Mr. Politis talks about roads in his area too, which really need paving. You just heard Mr. Eves. Almost every section, I know I have one, every section of our county, every district, and we need money here to do that, and we just don't get it.
well, I mean, all the taxes that everybody pays in
But-
the county, I know there's different
No,
schools.
those don't go. Those don't go, Joe. The money, David, you want to tell Joe where the tax money comes from?
It's primarily the gas tax.
The gas tax. It doesn't, when we had money to do revenue sharing, again, we were going by the list, and you can only give so much out of even the public tax funds for different sections of the county. So most of the money comes from the gas tax. It doesn't come from the taxes you pay on real estate in this county, unfortunately. And so I'm glad you asked that question, though, because a lot of people think with you that it comes right from your real estate taxes, but it does not. Roads in Virginia are done in a very different way.
They're all state funded,
They're state funded.
not county.
Although the General
Unless
Assembly, I was going to bring that up under my comments. The General Assembly passed a bill on Saturday that is beginning the devolution process back to the counties.
Yeah, and now they're going to put it back on us to maintain the roads, and we don't have any money to do that either. And yet the General Assembly
Or the
just
equipment.
passed that.
to do it.
What about all the money from the car taxes? I mean,
That's a state thing.
they're gonna give you up either way.
Won't do any good, Joe.
Tight, they're tight.
All right, thank you very much.
Sorry, Joe.
I'm Joe Sowers. I live on Old Sourwood Road also. And we're talking about the school bus. It got stuck right there in front of my house one day. And I went up and offered to take my four-wheel drive and pull it out. And they said I couldn't on account of the way the situation was. And in front of my house right now, it's where it washed down the road. It's a big pile of leaves. And then it washes across the road where it stopped up the ditch. And I realized that money don't go but so far, but looks like it could get out there and get that cleaned out. But I'm sure you all hear this all the time from, we all have the same problems, looks like. But I don't know, you know, we pay our taxes and we always have to come up with money from Summers for that on account of, I can't live, I got to live there on account of, till the good Lord takes me. I hope to stay there. But you know, taxes keeps going up. But I thought whenever we got that there lottery that was going to pave everything. But I don't play the lottery, but they, I must do it on kind of here on the news where they thought I'm winning millions of dollars. Maybe one of them donated a little bit of time, maybe, I don't know. But I just wanted to let you know, I've been there about 17 years since I retired, and it don't seem to get any better. It seems like we kind of feel like we're on the back burner, you know. But I'm sure everybody else feels the same too, so I realize you can't do it so much, but we sure would appreciate anything you could do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now, you're our supervisor. What is your answer to us?
Well, my answer to you is we'll come out and we'll look at the road.
You'll do what?
We'll come out and look at the road if we get a road viewers thing going, and we will make a recommendation as a board.
Well, now,
I, as
you're
a
our
member of the board,
supervisor,
have
and you're
one.
supposed to be the one to help us. Because now I called Roanoke, I didn't call Roanoke today. Ray Bandner or somebody called me. And he told me it wasn't up to Dave Clark, it was up to my supervisor.
Well, it's up to VDOT to give us the money. If we don't have any money, or we have 109,000 wouldn't get around the corner on any of the roads around here today. What I would like to ask Mr. Clark, if I may, is could we see if there's any
Look at the
maintenance?
pictures, as he saw the pictures of the road
Yes, ma'am.
David Clark has.
Oh, I can't tell you that.
I doubt it.
But I'm sure he will be on the road viewers ride with us when we do it.
Will you make sure he looks at them?
Yes, ma'am.
He's supposed to be the one that took Dan Brew's place, and poor Dan Brew, he passed us. And other roads has been paved since we were approved.
And there's a lot of roads that have been not paved before you were approved. When you're approved, that just puts on the plan.
They're gonna get roads down there fixed in just a matter of length of time.
And if we had the money, we'd fix them all
no
tomorrow.
different than part of this.
Yeah. I understand, ma'am. We will take a look at it.
Well, I'm waiting for an answer.
Craig?
And if I have to go to Richmond, that's where I'll go.
Okay.
Craig, I was just wondering, I know that we utilize inmates to do trash cleanup, and I noticed in the photographs there was a lot of brush on the side of the roads. Would we be able to talk with the sheriff about, I know that we can't have road crews so much of inmates, but we could have a road crew that was dealing with some of the brush to clear away some of the obstructions that were there if it meets that criteria. And I was wondering if that would be something that perhaps we could bring up.
We have done that in the past in a couple places, so yeah.
Yeah.
So at least we could take care of some of the brush issues that are depicted in the photographs.
As we get into the
Dave?
spring and summer, that may absolutely be a possibility.
Dave, do you not have some money for maintenance where you could
Yeah, that's what I was
clear
gonna
some of
ask,
this
if we
brush away on
Yeah.
the sides of the roads?
If there's any kind of maintenance issue,
If there's anything we can do on maintenance on that road, it would help.
Right.
So getting it paved is going to be tough. But
What about the ditches, the drop-offs? Can you not smooth that out, or?
we'll have to take a look at each.
Okay. He's going to take a look at it, and we hope he'll be able to do that. And thank you for coming.
Well, I hope he does.
Thank you.
Because I think since 1997, they paved Sunflower Road, they paved Fisher View and left us behind.
Yeah.
And we're just as good as the rest of them on the road.
What's the name of that road she's talking about?
Sourwood.
it's Sourwood. It's up off of Pilot and Sunflower.
Sourwood?
Sourwood Road, yeah.
Okay. All right. I just don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Upville, up in that area. All right, is there anybody else who would like to address this public hearing?
How y'all doing?
Okay. Not too
Give
well.
your name and address, please.
My name is Richard Brooks, and I live at 2570 Yellow Sulphur Road. And I'm kind of here to back up Joe on what he's saying about Yellow Sulphur Road, because I've lived there since 1987, and I've been hearing about the 6-year paving plan since then too. And now that we're not on it, I'm disappointed, just like some other people that are here too, to see what's going to happen with it. I had one question to ask Mr. Clark. How do you rank the roads on the level that need to be paved? Do you rank it by how much money you can afford to spend on them, or does it have anything to do with how much traffic runs on them? And if it does have to do with traffic, what is the traffic rate that goes down Yellow Sulphur compared to maybe like Mount Pleasant or Piney Woods or whatever the other roads are?
Yellow Sulphur might have a bit more, but they're all at around 200 vehicle a day range. The money has been so stagnant for the last few years, we really have just been going by historical 6-year plan. The board sets the priorities and basically just been maintain the same relative ranking or cut to the bottom.
And so Yellow Sulphur was on the bottom?
So far last year.
Well, the middle one time, I think that's the bottom.
We just took it off because of the numbers.
But Mount Pleasant and City Church have always been ahead of Yellow Sulphur.
So they have more traffic
Not
on?
necessarily. It's all, I mean, it's not like there's twice as much on Yellow Sulphur as it's about the same.
Okay. So if they're about the same, then why wouldn't Yellow Sulphur at least get put on the list?
Honestly, I'm a listener. You used to get $1.5 million for making $109,000. You don't make that stretch over a certain number of roads. We had to cut the block.
All right. Why did they cut the money then? I mean, because it seems like the gas tax, I don't think that many people quit using gas.
The gas tax hasn't gone up in about 26 years. And so inflationary costs to construct the roads have obviously gone up. But the gas tax is based on a per gallon, so it doesn't adjust for inflation. And so over the 26 years, we have had the cost of building roads, and Mr. Clark can correct me, has gone up at least probably 3 or 4 times than what it used to be 26 years ago. but the tax has not changed a penny at this point. And so our funding primarily goes through the roads, and there's been some debate in Richmond whether the general fund, which traditionally has been used for education and local government, should be used for roads. But the gas tax has not changed in 26 years, to my knowledge. And if somebody has got a different number, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's the problem. And as you can imagine, the cost of construction and meeting the needs of the interstates are always going to take priority over rural roads that you live on and I live out on in Walton. And so I know the type of roads that you're dealing with.
Well, and I mean, there is just some big problems on Yellow Sulphur with, you know, the trees are growing out in the road, buses are, you know, 2 cars are having trouble passing and all that kind of thing, you know, so, and I mean, the road is, I mean, even just the location of the road of where it is in between Blacksburg and Christiansburg, it just seems like it would be ranking higher on the list than being on last. You know, even getting it partially paved or having something done to it in sections, it would seem like.
And I don't know what the cost my parents did some paving on their driveway. It was very short. It's $35,000. So I can't imagine what a project is to do something like Yellow Sulphur. And $109,000 is going to be a drop in the bucket.
Right.
And that's part of what we're having to deal with. But now we can take care of the brush issues and some of the maintenance issues we can. But as far as hard surfacing, and I'm sorry if I've been taking up his time. I'd appreciate if he could have some more time to address us. But those things we can try to address. But at this point in time, we don't. Well, until what happened on Saturday, I wasn't aware of that. As far as the General Assembly giving that obligation onto the counties.
We don't. We just don't. We don't have the money. We did do some revenue sharing once upon a time, but we cut that out.
We cut
had
it out
to back
because the state
off,
couldn't keep up with it.
because we didn't have enough money to spend on roads, and the state won't do anything as far as the gas tax is concerned, and you know, all over, transportation has been one of the big issues, and we can't seem to get it solved. And well, I don't know, it's very frustrating for us. Jim, Ms. Biggs wants to say
I
something.
believe, and I'm going to...
But Ms. Biggs was
Mary
asking-
wants to
Ms. Biggs,
say
I'm sorry.
something.
I was trying to be polite, like in school, raise my hand, raise my finger. Okay. Yeah, it is very frustrating. I want you to know that we've been on your road, and I want you to know that Supervisor Mars even had a meeting out about that road in the community at one point in time. But it might be helpful for Mr. Clark to tell us how much money does it cost to pave 1 mile of road?
Almost $1 million.
For 1 mile, okay, and we're saying we have 109,000. Now there's the big problem in itself, because I know when I first got on the board and we had more money, at first, you know, I didn't know how much it cost to pave roads, and I thought, well, we got some money, and it would turn out, well, you can maybe this year pave 3 to 7 miles, and that was when the cost was less than what you're saying. That's why we have the problems that we have, and we all are very frustrated, and we know that you're frustrated, and I want you to know that we have been out on these roads and we've seen them, and if we need to, we'll go again, but it's just the lack of support to provide services to citizens, the lack of support that we experience from the state.
Well, and I kind of understand, but I'm also having a problem understanding why there would only be $109,000 if it's a fuel tax. Because even over 26 years, I wouldn't think that people are using less fuel. Then even if the fuel tax was, say, 3 cents a gallon, I don't even know how much it is.
The problem is the cost of maintaining the interstates has gone up. So that means less money for secondary roads.
Right.
And so because the interstates get used so much, and the main highways, they tend to get the majority of the funding, where we used to have $1.5 million for that's the number I've heard around. I'm brand new.
And I agree. I've heard Mr. Clark say like there was $1.5 million in the budget, because I usually come to these things. I've been coming to them for a long, long time, and still haven't. We keep falling farther down on the totem pole. So.
And I will do what I can to work with Mr. Clark to get the brush cleared and things like that, but I don't want to promise somebody something I can't deliver with $109,000.
Well, I understand that, but I also wanted to be here to support Joe and the rest of the people that were here that have been on Yellow Sulphur. You know, we've been doing this for a long, long time, since 1980 something.
Mr. Creed?
Okay. One thing that I think that should be said, because obviously it wasn't as big a thing as what I thought it might be. Mr. Mars, while he was on this board, fought very hard to get some roads fixed down there, and we spent over $300,000 on that road, just in some spot widenings and things, in revenue sharing money. So you can see where I've got the exact number, but it was over $300,000, how far that went. So, you know, money when you go to fixing these roads doesn't go a long ways. I just thought I'd put that out there, give you some reference back too, but there has been some money spent in the last few years out there. Now, you don't see a whole lot because you don't get a lot for that kind of money anymore.
So we can't do revenue sharing anymore because we don't have the money to do that, and the state doesn't give us any more. Mr. Tuck is right, it's a cost of doing business and maintenance, but Mr. Clark's here and he's hearing about the brush and things like that on a number of roads, but it is so frustrating to us, and I'm glad to try to make it clear to the people that are here today that it's not their tax money on real estate. The roads are done by the state of Virginia, and now they're wanting to turn them back to the county, which is great. So they think, but for the counties, another service to be provided with no funds to do it. So, you know, it's...
What, are you going to raise our taxes?
What?
How are you gonna support that?
Right.
If it's gonna get turned back to you guys?
Right, we don't know. What else? The only way we can support it is to raise taxes. And we have very, very few taxes that we can even do as a county. And we have to get permission from the state to do what we do. So
do we need to maybe talk to the senator? Or?
Yes.
So now you're getting there.
That's right.
Senators,
Delegates and senators. Mm-hmm.
But you understand too that, and I don't mean this ugly or disparaging, but Northern Virginia, Eastern Virginia, the larger areas that have the heavy populations, when the money is divvied out, they usually get the lion's share.
Well, they also pay.
I'm sorry, I hate to say that, but that's really what happens.
They also pay more for their roads also.
What?
There's some counties that pay for, like Loudoun County, Prince William County pay for their own roads.
Right. There are a couple counties that have a lot more money than we do, and they will pay for their roads. But in Eastern Virginia, in the Hampton Roads area, you look at that, and it's amazing, the interstates and the spurs and whatever goes there. So all we can do is ask, and we have done that over and over again.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment here, if I may. There's approximately 112 miles of unpaved road in this county. That's a bunch at $109,000. I live on an unpaved road that's about 3.2 miles long. And we've had a little bit of widening done. We've had a little maintenance done. My road's in no better shape than most of the roads in this county. Probably one of the top 3 worst shaped roads in the county. And it's just one of those things when I got there, I don't guess I wasn't even on the list. And
What road do you live on?
Brush Creek Road out in Roanoke, between Roanoke and Pilot off Route 8.
Is it on the list?
No, sir. No, sir.
Well.
And we have about 200 cars a day on that road.
And there's how many?
About 200 cars a day on that road. But we have so much work that has to be done by banking and by widening that it would cost so much money that it would be unfeasible at this point to do it. And I understand that. I've talked to them about the rural rustic program years ago, on a lot of these roads. And there's no way we could qualify because of the steep banks and the narrowness of the roads and one-lane bridges. And Mr. Clark was nice enough the other day to come out and put a couple of pieces of patch in a bridge we had that had holes in it that were, you couldn't drive 5 miles an hour across the bridge. I mean, you had to crawl across it. And it's a little low water bridge. Every time it rains heavy, it floods, and we've had water, it's been underwater as much as 5 feet. And this is a road with 200 cars a day. So, and it's not that I don't feel for everybody. I'm not putting my road on there at this point. I haven't asked to, because I know what they face to do mine.
Well, do you guys contact the representatives, like the senators? And
We do every year.
We're always on them.
We've asked for option on a gas tax, if that was what it would take to do it. A gas tax creates how much a penny? 50 million a penny? Statewide?
I can't remember.
I don't remember the
I
number
believe it's
either,
50
but
million a penny
Something,
statewide.
yeah.
And when you're,
that sounds right. But
and 50 million a penny statewide.
for the entire state, yeah.
But when you're got 98 counties and many towns and municipalities, and you're talking about $1 million a mile, it's a lot.
I understand.
So we will do our best to work with them. We always have done our best. We don't always get the response we need to get. But if you folks want to help us in our pursuit, we would surely appreciate any writing you would do to your delegates and senators.
Amen.
Well, I did write to one of the to one of the delegates, but he told me I needed to go through you guys.
Well, they passed the buck down to us.
That's right.
No, they don't pass the buck down.
No, they don't pass the buck down. They pass responsibility down.
Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you very much for speaking.
Thank
Gary.
you. Take a break. Nobody else wants to speak.
Let's see if there's any more public comment. Let's see. Take a break.
Okay, is there anybody else? Seeing no one, we'll close this public hearing and take about a 5-minute break if you don't mind. I'd like to bring the meeting back to order, please.
Public interest, okay.
Okay, the next item is public address, and the same as our public hearings. We have a few people signed up, and when I call your name, please step forward, give your name and address, and we have 5 minutes, please. The first person on our list is Bob Kroger.
I'm Bob Kroger. I have a Blacksburg mailing address, but I live in the county. When we had our house built, after we had the house built, I had an 8-foot fence put around the backyard. I had a half an acre, and I had a garden 30 by 45. I planted vegetables every summer, and every summer I took several hundred pounds of vegetables to the food pantry, which is governed by 5 local churches in Blacksburg, and which is staffed by a great group of generous, caring volunteers who are very much interested in taking care of their fellow man. Every summer I take over several hundred pounds of vegetables to the food pantry, and I'm totally amazed when I go over there to see the boxes of vegetables which local farmers donate their time and their vegetables, and they're absolutely wonderful. And I really feel so privileged to associate with this group of very fine, caring people. And in addition to all the vegetables, there's also a lot of produce that is donated by the local supermarkets, in addition to food off the shelves and canned and jarred and boxed things that are made available to over 200 families each month. And they start arriving at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I go over maybe 3 times a week with my vegetables. And if I don't get there before 10 o'clock, it's very difficult for me to find a parking space. So it's something I really enjoy doing, and a lot of people get a great benefit from the cooperation of those who are involved with this great endeavor. Now, please tell me where these folks are going to get an additional 24 cents per 100, when at this time they do not have enough money to put food on the table. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Doug Prophet.
My name is Doug Prophet. I live at 125 Corbin Drive in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it's strange that the gentleman ahead of me just hit on what I was going to expand on. So I'm going to expand a little bit further than he expanded. There are many senior citizens in this county that live from one day till the next because they don't have money enough to survive. I don't believe there's anybody sitting on the board tonight that lives on $1,000 a month. I don't think there is. And we got people that worked all their lives to buy their houses and got it paid for 2 years before they retired and then lost their spouse. So that left them one income. So I made a little scenario here of a one-person family receiving $1,000 a month in Social Security, and this is the only income they have, is a Social Security. Before they ever see their Social Security, the federal government reclaims $135 of it for the Medicare. And then when they receive it, they pay an insurance company another $200 for the rest of the Medicare. And then, if this tax increase of 24 cents that the gentleman just presented to you, that'll bring us to, I use round numbers here, to $1 per 100. So in this house that this person's worked all their life to get, worth $150,000, they're going to owe the county $1,500 in taxes. That works out to be $125 a month that they're going to pay in taxes. So that's another 12.5% of the $1,000 gone. And then from there, they're going to have homeowners policy on that. So I was very generous with that. I only allowed $25 a month for that. So that's another 2.5% of their $1,000 that's going to be gone. So then from there, they have to have miscellaneous things with medical, to pay payments on their medicines, things that they need to assist them in their care. So that, I allowed another $100 for that. My wife's is much more than that. She has a lot of problems. So I allowed $100 for that. So that's another 10% of their $1,000 that's gone. So then from there, they're gonna need gas and maintenance on their automobiles because they have to be able to get around. With gas as high as it is, I allowed $100 a month for gas and maintenance on their automobiles. That's another 10% of their $1,000 gone. Next thing I allowed was $20 a month for the car insurance on their cars. That works out to be $240 a year. That means that they just have liability on it and nothing else. So that's another 2% of their income that's gone. They'll need a phone. That's about $40 a month. They need water. Depending on where you're at, down there it runs about $25 a month. They need garbage service. That runs about $25 a month. So we're talking about another 9% or 5% of their money gone. They need a fine that runs about $40. That's another 4% gone. They'll need TV to entertain themselves. That runs about $40 a month. Lawn care for 12 times a year, $25 to get somebody to mow the yard for them because at their age, they're not able to mow the yard. So anyway, with all the things I have listed here, out of their $1,000 we've spent. They've already spent $960 out of their $1,000. That leaves them $40 to buy food with. And I was going to do this on a pie chart. That's an awful small piece of pie for food. And this tax increase that we're talking about on that $150,000 house increases their taxes by $31.75 a month. So I know that what I'm bringing to you tonight probably will have no value. But when you're out shopping in a supermarket, and this $1,000 in Social Security, that's a very generous amount. And I talked to a local businessman yesterday, been in business ever since I've known him and long before that. His Social Security is $768 a month, I think he told me. And he's a prominent businessman.
Okay, your time is up, sir.
Okay, y'all's budget is short, and so is ours. So, and remember, you already went up on our assessment last year and added 6 3/4% of taxes to mine last year. Okay.
Thank you. The next speaker is Barbara Skinner.
Hello, I'm Barbara Skinner, 3583 Laurel Drive in Blacksburg, Virginia. Since last speaking before this board, I participated in the public address segment of a school board meeting, and my message to both boards has been the same. We're spending lots of money on education, and are we receiving the educational quality we should expect? Superintendent Blackburn has responded to several of my points, and I've made a copy for Ms. Sweeney so that she can get copies to you. And I appreciate Superintendent Blackburn's response, but it hasn't changed my opinion that our school board needs to be held more accountable for spending and educational quality. If the budget presented by Mr. Meadows is accepted, then in fiscal year 2013, 70% of our budget will be spent on schools, and I calculate the per pupil cost to be $11,390. These numbers will be higher if the school board's proposed budget is instead approved. We need to realize that unique, voluminous, showcase school buildings don't give our children a good education. It's sad that in 2013, we'll be spending $18.6 million on school debt service. And secondly, although it looks like the rest of the county has done a good deal of stretching funds, that doesn't appear to be the case with the school board. I think the 2007 NCPS efficiency report I previously referenced needs to be dusted off, and the school board needs to prioritize spending, and they need to make cuts. I would like to ask this board to limit our property tax increase to 8 cents, 10 cents at the most. Taxpayers have tightened their belts. It appears that county government, excluding the schools, has tightened its belt, and now it's time for the school board, the consumer of the lion's share of our county budget, to tighten its belt. After we get through this budget season, I hope a citizens group can take a look at spending and academic quality in our school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Skinner. The next speaker is Catherine Kincaid.
Hello, I'm Catherine Kincaid, and I live at 405 Grandview Drive, Blacksburg. I'm glad to see the citizens here tonight so that the Board of Supervisors know that we are watching and keeping track of things that are going on. You always hear of Hollywood stars and rock stars going broke after making millions of dollars and not having enough to live on. That was because they were so busy in their careers and making the money that they trusted someone else to manage their finances, and that trust was betrayed. They found out too late that they should have provided oversight themselves. I feel that something similar has happened to the federal, state, and the local government. Most of us have been busy making a living and raising our families, and that we haven't provided that oversight. If we don't stop it now, the spending, we will end up like Greece. I attended a school board meeting and no mention was made of a shortage of funds, and in fact, I was astounded when they talked of spending more. Folks, if the board gets more of our taxes, that won't be enough. At a recent meeting, I asked a school board member why the Price's Fork was built so large, and the answer, as I interpreted the answer was, people fuss because we don't build them big enough, and they fuss when we build them too big. I didn't get a feeling that she could empathize with the taxpayer, and I'm tired of this I know best attitude. I want an attitude of we will work together to find the best answer that everyone can live with. I think the enrollment has been pretty steady for the past 5 years. I've heard people say that they're thinking about moving out of the county. If our economy doesn't get better, there may not be more people moving into the area, and the schools may not be needed. And also, as was mentioned earlier, the scores could probably be better. We need to look into cutting high-paid administrators and programs that are adding little of no value or no value. I would also like to repeat the remarks of others previously that increased money does not equal increased achievement for students. The root cause of our financial problems today seems to be unsustainable benefit packages and spending too much money on programs that are not proven to be valuable and look good on paper but have little or no effect. If we keep spending like that, our county will end up like Greece. Homes are selling below assessed values. They were reassessed for increased values at the same time as the values were plummeting. In a lot of cases, the home values weren't reassessed at higher values, but the land value was, making the total property reassessed higher. Now, the land values seem to be plummeting. What will happen in 3 years when reassessment takes place? Are you going to increase the rate? I keep hearing people say, go to Richmond, get more money. I've heard it tonight, actually. They don't have more money, and they didn't give this county as much money because properties were reassessed at inflated values that looked good on paper, and it looked as if this county was doing just fine. We didn't need any money. And they get their money also from the taxpayers. We have a lot of property in this county that's not taxed. All federal and state property has to be left out of the tax base. We also have a land where property owners have put their property in easements, and that reduces their tax base, and they get tax incentives that they can sell if not needed. These easements are increasing at record levels and being removed from the tax base so that the rest of us are having to pick up the bill. Many people are hurting or will be when they get their bill along with everything else that's increasing if you increase the taxes. I'm also resentful when I hear people stand up and say, raise the taxes. In some cases, I heard people say, do whatever you want. And that sounds like they're saying the sky's the limit. I'm also resentful when spouses of public servants stand up and say we should raise the taxes also. And I resent it when they're benefiting directly. They're saying to the rest of us, we don't care how hard you have it, tough luck, we want more. I'm saying they should be ashamed. We can't afford an increase. The money's not there. If you look at the salaries and benefits of teachers and administrators, you will see that they're excellent. In many cases, a whole lot better than the people that you're asking to give more. You heard those people speaking tonight. You're being asked to do the right thing, cut back on spending, cut school administrators, or at least look at how many we have for a county this size. Cut programs, and for heaven's sakes, don't add more unless they're fantastic or of proven value and something is cut. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kincaid. The next speaker is Jack Sokovich.
Mr. Meadows, it's your turn tonight, sir.
Thank goodness it's
I
not.
sat quietly and listened to Mr. Meadows' budget presentation to the board on March 1st. I heard the sounds of creative financing. They weren't pleasant sounds. Words like windfall floated through the air like leaves in an autumn morning. Actually, my mind pictured tax dollars flying through the air. Our tax dollars. Mr. Meadows, you're moving funds around like pieces of the chessboard, but you're not addressing the problem. In one breath, you state, in the beginning of your statement, that we're not increasing money for schools. And then the next breath, you propose allocating $1.1 million, windfall dollars, for buses, technologies, and building repairs. That's an increase in the school budget. You still haven't created a capital budget for the schools. According to your presentation, you reallocate $635,000 in earmarked funds from previous year's debt service to reduce the debt service. Taking debt service money and giving it to the schools and throwing into their operating budget does not reduce the debt. The public isn't that ignorant. This is the era of the Tea Party, and we're watching you. Stop playing sleight of hand with our money. Now you see it, now you don't. You are increasing the operating budget by $3 million for schools, and that's not counting the new debt service. According to your budget proposal, our school debt is now $18.6 million. Triple the debt for the rest of the county's budget, which includes the new courthouse. Carol mentioned, your assistant Carol mentioned $750,000 for facilities maintenance reserve and mentioned school roof repairs. Is this additional money for the schools? It seems like you're trying to hide the complete actual cost of the schools for the taxpayers and how much that we are required to pay and fund the school system. You asked for an additional capital reserve funds on top of the present capital reserves. I listened to the tape again, and folks, all their meetings are on tape. You should watch them. You should learn something. Is this more your creative financing, Morris? Then you want to add
This is
funds.
enough. I can't. You are not going to
appropriate.
attack staff.
Yeah,
We set the budget.
Jim,
You
why
know
is this-
that.
why'd you
Alright.
let
This
this
is
go
enough.
on?
You have attacked the county administrator and assistant county administrator, and I will not listen to it.
It's one thing to talk about the budget and
Okay.
what you don't like about proposed budget. It's another to attack people in a
Okay.
setting like this, and I'm very upset, and I'm sorry, and I know you, and I appreciate you coming to the meetings and doing what you're doing as far as freedom of speech as a citizen, but it really disturbs me for you to attack the county administrator and the assistant. It really disturbs me.
I'm attacking the figures. I'm not attacking Mr.
No,
Meadows.
you-
Yes,
you-
no, you said that.
I'm sorry. I apologize for that, Mr. Meadows. I'm sincerely apologize.
And
But
Jack,
everything you've said, you've directed to him.
and
Everything,
The
and that's
presentation-
attacking him.
Ms. Perkins, the presentation was made by staff. Nobody had a chance to rebut. Nobody had a chance to say
I'm
anything.
sorry,
And the
we're
figures-
not going to talk about staff. We're going to talk about the budget. You can
All right.
do what you want to, but we're not talking about staff, and you have directed every remark to him.
I apologize again, Mr. Meadows.
And Jack, I understand Craig's got a difficult job. He's got 7 people up here who have very different views. And he's got to try to come up with something that is a starting point for us. And at least that's the way I see it as a new board member. And so I understand what you're looking at, but I also understand what Craig's trying to do. He's trying to get at least something in the budget that maybe Chris Tuck will like, something that Matt will like, something that Mary will like, and so on, and trying to put it out there for all of us to work from. I understand what you're saying as well, but if you get mad at me, I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
If you get mad at Mary, and as long as you don't make it personal in the nature, but disagree with her vote, I'm 100% behind you. I'm there in the same way if you don't like one of my votes. But I have to agree with them. The staff, they don't get much of a choice because they're kind of they're our employees. And so just as if you're going to anyone, they're going to protect their employees. So I appreciate the comments. I'm sorry to have taken up that part of your
I
time.
understand for your third time, Greg. I apologize, sir. The figures struck me, and as I listened to the tape again, just things didn't gel, and that's where I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention to go over the figures carefully. And what was thrown at us was...
Ms. Edmonds needs an apology also.
I didn't think.
I didn't.
What is that?
But windfall dollars are tax dollars. And they should be spent wisely. Public safety is paramount. Their requests are small, but they're relevant. And are very small compared to the school budget and others. Building the animal shelter is an important thing, but we don't need bells and whistles to make a multi-million-dollar animal shelter. Please be our fiscal stewards. You work for the citizens of the county. And again, I sincerely apologize to you both and to the entire staff.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next speaker is Gary Jones.
My name is Gary Jones. I live at 545 Terrytown Road. The tax increase is directed basically at the school cost, which is, what, $59 million per school is the number I've heard. Can anybody verify that?
It's not $59 million. It's a total of $124 million, roughly $52 million for the Blacksburg High School. And then somebody, correct me if there's about 30 or 40 plus for the...
Okay, 52 million, I'll use that figure then. In Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the cost of that school should cost $35.4 million. Why are we spending an extra $17 million? Has it got that many bells and whistles that the kids need? Will that teach them more? The cost you're spending for that school can be built in Chicago, Illinois, where they have labor unions. And the cost of labor is outrageous. We need to cut costs, period. I have to cut costs at my house. Thank you very much.
There is no one else signed up for the public address. If anybody would like to speak, please come forward and say your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
I'm Bill Stevenson. I live at 1205 Arrington Road, Blacksburg. I'm addressing my comments not to any specific individual. I'm not here to criticize individuals. Board of Supervisors have a very difficult job. I appreciate that. But I do have some concerns. And it seems to me that this whole budget process comes down to a clash of philosophies. One philosophy is always to look for taxes when you have shortfalls. We've seen how that has failed in Europe. We see how it's failing in Washington with tremendous debt. And I really think we've got to stop short before we get into bankruptcy. The other philosophy is to do what we all do, I'm sure, in our own lives, and that is we spend what we have and we balance things out. If we have a little surplus, we can do some extra things. But I really believe we need to change the philosophy. There's no doubt in my mind that living within our means is what the Board of Supervisors should be doing. I think in particular that the board has become beholden to the needs and demands of the school board. It seems that the superintendent of schools office, from what I heard 3 weeks ago, isn't able really to control the school board demands. They said as much when they were given $1.2 million to spend on buses, and the school board told them we're going to spend it on something else. It's my feeling that actions of that sort should result in the return of the money to the Board of Supervisors, coupled with a severe reprimand for those who were responsible for taking money that they asked for and spending it on something else. But it's not just the school board that must be challenged. I think all units under your supervision need close scrutiny so that efficient and cost-effective measures are adopted and that balanced budgets become the norm. Not, this is what I'd like. Balanced budgets. We need it. We've all had to do it in our professional lives. I know you can do it in this job. I think a number of things I would include for proposals for future solvency, apart from the rigorous budget process, an oversight committee for all of your major units. It's an awful lot to expect 7 people to closely supervise all the units you employ. I think there are people who are willing to help. We know you have a tough job, we want to help. I feel a long-term plan for efficiency and capital expenditures is vital. And I think when we really look at things, we shouldn't always think of trying to meet a budget by increasing taxes. Surely, there are times when we can challenge budgets, see that what is being asked for is truly needed, and at the end of the year, give a bonus to those units that return some money, rather than often spending it frivolously. The other thing is, when you come to the budget each year, why not think in terms of reducing the taxes? Why not think of trying to reduce the taxes after all these years of increases that seem to be getting steeper? I believe it's time that we take a good look. In our professional lives, many of us have had to do that. We've got to make a 5 or 10% reduction. You have to do it. There's no reason why public officials should not be looking at the expenditure of the public money in the same way. It is our money, it's your money that you're spending when you increase taxes. Increasing taxes year by year is a road to disaster. Ask any Greek living in Athens. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the board?
Good evening, members of the board. And Mr. Meadows, I'm Kelly Pleasant. I'm a resident of 2737 Old Fort Road in Blacksburg, and I am the president of the Montgomery County Education Association. I would like to begin by congratulating Mr. Meadows on his proposed budget for 2012-2013. Even in such difficult economic times as these in Montgomery County, he has put forth a budget that is as fair as possible within the constraints that are involved. This budget does not meet every need in the county, and even if it's passed, there will be more cuts and tough decisions ahead. But it is a place to start. And I support the 12-cent tax increase proposed by Mr. Meadows to try and fund this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? One more coming forward.
I think there's one gentleman, Jim.
I'm A. Paul Thomas. I thought I'd hobble up here after I spent a day today doing some cleaning up work down at my old home place.
Could we get your address, please?
Oh, the address?
Yeah, your address.
I am currently at 3, what is my current? 5, 6, 7, 675 Mountain View Drive.
Thank you.
Did that come across? I normally use post office box number, which I won't give. Well, at this place at which I have been working today, it's to confront a rather dilapidated property where I've been doing as much cleanup as I can, and thinking about the tax that is put upon that property. Though it's too ugly a subject to want to look at and remember, but it has increased very greatly, and the dilapidated house has been assigned a purely hypothetical value. I don't think anybody would want to take on the problem of owning it. Well, I live a very frugal lifestyle. I have not complained too much about the high taxes that I have been paying, but to increase the amount, I think goes beyond reason as to what is really the right thing to do. Now, I will say that I have been in education at the top. I've been at a couple of noted universities. I do think that there is more to education than just what you get in the public institutions. You know, I believe all of you all are going to have to be very brave to face up to what is the right thing to do when it comes to spending the money, particularly of what some of these persons have said about the geriatric crowd in this county. So I know one thing, that my income has been reduced so considerably starting the last year because of the economic downturn. still, I'm happy to live frugally. That's my nature. So, I think what your bravery will be called upon to confront is the deluge that will come to you and does come to you from the education fraternity. And, you know, one of you people had a wonderful letter or comment in the newspaper not too long back, in which you talked about how you maintained your way of coming out ahead under rigorous circumstances, how your mother saw to it that you all had a proper education. Anyway, one of the tremendous results of good education nowadays is what? The product seems to be a deteriorating society. And I wish they would install in the schools a program of education and good character building.
Okay, sir, your 5 minutes are up. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the board? Seeing no one, we will close this public address. And I'm sorry about the disturbance this evening. It was a little bit disarming. I hope we can work a little better at our approach in the future. And I thank my fellow board members for...
I was just going to say, maybe what we, I don't know if this would be a good suggestion or not, would be like at the last meeting, you sort of set the guidelines out there. And we had such a good meeting. I think I even commented that night about it. Maybe if we sort of have that each time, because we'll probably always have some new people coming. And I understand people's passion, and I normally don't get upset, and I'm sorry I got upset, but I was upset and I just had to do something. But maybe if we did that, it would help. As chair, I mean, as a member, I would, as chair, like you to sort of set that out there.
And I get in the habit because people say a lot of nasty things periodically to an attorney. And I've got a kind of a thick skin, and I also like a good debate, and I like a good presentation of ideas. And so I was listening and going through, but I do think that it was the right thing to do, and that Matt to interrupt Jack at the time. But at the same time, I believe that Jack understands the situation. I do believe he's sorry for what he had, the personal nature of the attacks. But I do think that we need to make sure that we do set a tone. And at the same time, we're all big boys and big girls up here, and sometimes we're going to have to take some heat. And so I don't mind the heat.
Well, we can take the heat.
Yeah, we can take it.
It shouldn't go to our staff.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I've had the heat already. So I don't mind the heat, but I do mind attacking the staff because they work for us, and they do the very best that they can. And I thank you, Matt, for setting us straight on that one. And I'm not going to say any more.
Let's get out of the fire and go on with our meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
The next item is addendums, and I don't believe we have any addendums.
Yes, sir. Not tonight.
The next item is the consent agenda.
I'll move it.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. The next item is old business, and the first item is a special use permit for Ancient Free and Accepted Mason Civic Club.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Been moved for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Been seconded.
Mr. Chairman, I cannot participate in regards to this issue. I've talked with the county attorney, and he's indicated that my uncle Bob is a member. He's here today, and so I don't believe that I can vote on this issue, and so I'm not going to be voting or participating.
And Mr. Chair, I will not be voting or participating on this issue either because my husband is a member of that lodge.
All right. Anybody else?
I actually had a question, but I'm not going to recuse myself. But I was wondering, I don't know if Mr. Sandy could answer this or not. One thing I forgot to ask during the public hearing was if there was going to be a sign at all on the property. I don't know if anyone would know. Oh, sorry. I was wondering if there was going to be a sign on the property denoting that it is the lodge.
Yes, and we give it one for the sign to the process of the county.
Pardon me?
It would have to be the sign to the process of the county.
Okay.
20 square feet if they want.
If they wanted to do that, okay. Because my only concern was that, if I'm remembering the map correctly, there's kind of a bank of trees right before the driveway or the entrance, and if the sign went right there, it might be a distraction or a blind spot, coming around those cups of trees. But I guess that would be dealt with through that's fine.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not voting on this issue.
Abstaining.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
And you have the reasons, right, for both of us? Okay.
Okay, and the next item is ordinance amending Chapter 10 zoning, and ordinance amending Chapter 10 entitled zoning, Section 10-37, Article 2, Section 2.1A of the Code of the County of Montgomery, Virginia, entitled Establishment of Floodplain Districts by amending the language referencing the maps dated in September 29, 2009 to include, and any subsequent revisions of the amendments thereto. Do I have a motion, please? And did you understand all that? That's right.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? Mr. Creed.
Yeah, I got one thing, and it has to do with a doubt that I have, and the doubt is this. I doubt that the railroad will be able to build a bridge under a railroad track and not cause some degree of extra flooding in that area. And I've seen water already to the bridge. So if it stops any water, then it would be over the bridge that I've seen myself. So I just want to bring that up and see if there's anything we can do to make sure that doesn't happen in that way, that they do not have the ability to do that.
Well, they would have to, I think what I hear you saying is if they submitted plans for construction that put that bridge in the floodplain, they don't have an exemption to circumvent the floodplain.
You sure?
I won't swear to that, but I'm pretty sure they do.
I'm not so sure about that.
I wasn't sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't pretend to be a lawyer, so.
And, therefore, I don't know that we should approve something that we're not sure of.
We'll table it till next time.
Do we want to table
Yeah,
that?
this federal stuff, the stuff that's
This
going.
ordinance has nothing to do
Right.
with anything on the ground that you're seeing, any development that's going
Well, there's two parts of this. One of them has to do with flood, and then the other one has to do with the area in itself. that comes up right after this. And that shows that the road would go down and have to come under the railroad, no matter what they do.
I think are you talking about
the Lafayette plan?
Okay, we're still on the...
Yeah, but my concern is this. You know, we talked about this flooding deal, and it said at our last meeting, and we talked about what it said, and what it was saying was that they could change things and it would still be applicable. So,
no, what they're talking about, the floodplain maps and flood maps, has nothing to do with land use. That has nothing to do with, like for instance, the Lafayette Route Corridor plan. All it's talking about is if you're a property owner and you go in, you get your property elevated where now you're out of the floodway, it's all about elevation. And so if you put, I don't know, so many cubic yards of dirt, and now your lot's sitting at 2,200 feet and the floodplain is 2,150, you're out of it now, then you can get a map amendment, and now that's what this is talking about. It's talking about any map amendments that may come down the road due to private property owners doing the necessary engineering or necessary construction or fill to get outside or of the floodways.
so do we know how that, in particular, that piece of land is rated and where?
I don't know. I mean, we can give you all that information, but this amendment here would have no effect on it, in my opinion.
Marty, is this amendment just a changing of the language?
Yeah.
We had as amended, and then they added the language and
any subsequent revisions or amendments, which I think
is the exact same thing as amended.
Substantive change, in my opinion.
It just come up at the same time, and it makes me wonder.
No, really has nothing to do with it.
Or at least it hit us at the same time, I guess.
But I mean, I think that you bring up some good points on that particular development you're talking about, and we can check and see, if they do build, what things we can do to make sure flooding isn't a concern.
Okay.
Okay. Question answered?
And those are my concerns. And that's,
Okay. Anybody else have any comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Perkins? Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
no.
Chair Lewis?
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 no.
All right, the next item is a resolution amending the Montgomery County 2025 Comprehensive Plan and Allison Lafayette Village Plan by adopting and incorporating into the comprehensive plan the Lafayette Route 11460 Corridor Plan dated February 2012 as part of the comprehensive plan and Allison Lafayette Village Plan. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
And they have discussion.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Same discussion. I would vote for it, providing something was to say that that we pass it, providing that it will not cause any additional flooding. If it's built into a manner in which it would not cause any additional flooding. And again, that's something that if you ever go down there and look, you'll wonder how they're going to get a trailer truck with a big old box on it underneath that railroad track and over top of the over top of the river without building something in a flood zone.
So what would be the proper thing to do as far as what we have on the floor and then what Gary wants to do? What should we do?
Marty, do you have a...
Well, if Gary wants to...
Could we add that language?
Yeah, I think you could add. There's nothing legally stopping you from adding it. Now, you might want to ask Steve what kind of impact it may have.
Should we send it back then to the Plan Commission?
I don't know, I'd like to hear what maybe Steve has any comments.
Mr. Sandy?
Been here all night dressed so nicely, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we could add something if you want. I guess what I would say is this plan doesn't get quite to that detail. This is more of a general plan. We talk a little bit about if that comes in, that we're going to realign the road. We could probably add something there. I guess my opinion, Marty and I really haven't discussed it, but I think if VDOT builds the road, I think they do have to comply with FEMA regulations because it's a federal regulation. So I think there will be some discussion there about the floodplain issue, because we've talked about that too. I think it's going to be difficult to build a bridge over the river and under the railroad tracks and have enough clearance, and I'm not quite sure how they're going to do it either. So, but we could add something to that section that we talk about the road, the realignment of Cove Hollow Road. We could add something about minimizing, impacts to the floodplain. That's certainly something we could do, and I guess just as an amendment to the motion, I think.
We could even add to any of the road language, because that whole area is susceptible to flooding.
Right. So it's up to you. I don't know that it would necessarily have to go back to the Planning Commission for that, that small of a change, I think.
And I would be satisfied. And I would also add that there is another way to get over there. The cut that's in behind the stores, if you come there, when you take the left to go back down on the old road, the railroad is then down in a cut. You can't even see the train when they come through there. It's below the road, so they can go across it and come into the back side of the land that they've got down there, rather than coming to the front and then going to the back, if they so wanted to do that. And they would get it out of, they could very easily get it out of the floodplain, but getting them to do.
That may be the way they have to. I don't know that they've actually engineered enough to know that whether or not they can make that road work or not.
I think they can build a bridge that will take traffic across it and go onto the railroad track. But when they do that, it's going to cause flooding, or it's going to cause some increased flooding. And when you've got your firehouse and your sewage and waste facilities and stuff immediately after that, I don't think it's a good idea to be allowing something that could cause sewage in your rivers or your fire department flooding.
Okay, so now tell me where we are again. Since I made the motion, I'm going to accept whatever Gary's friendly amendment is that Marty's really going to write out, and that's what's on the floor now.
Yeah, and I think it would be simply that this resolution be approved subject to language being added to the plan, not to the resolution. The resolution is very simple.
Okay.
Basically approves the plan, gives you a little bit of text and history of where and why we're doing it. But the approval can be conditioned upon staff adding language in the appropriate areas of the plan addressing flood concerns from any development in and along the river, including but not limited to Cove Hollow Road and the projects that may be using that as access. So it could be something like that. Do you get all that?
I like that.
Is that good with you, Gary?
I won't be able to read.
Yeah, and there's one other side of that.
I can't back that.
That even if they can come up with a configuration to where they can build a bridge that somehow or another won't stop any water, they somehow need to leave the old Cove Hollow Road or some road other than that community could come back through should it get flooded, or should they need some emergency vehicle back in that holler when there's a flooding up in that area. And the road that they have now, they don't have that problem. So it may be something that could be opened up if and when they need it, and they could maybe leave that to where that they could do that. It's on the highway side of the development that they're wanting to develop. So it's on the highway side of the railroad tracks as they run. So I don't know, it's just something that we don't need to just throw stuff in there on these folks that live back in that holler. You know, there's a whole bunch of houses, and there's probably more traffic going back in that holler around Christmas time than there is any 5-mile stretch of country road that we have, because they have tremendous light displays at the end of that thing, and people are lined up going in there to see them. So it's something that, you know, we need to take care of our citizens, number one, and then number two. We don't owe the railroad a nickel that I know of. So we need to make sure that they take care of our citizens.
Okay.
I'll make an amendment to the plan and I'll let you see it.
Thank you.
And then do we want to vote on it pending the amendment? Or do we want to
Can we just table it?
table it until
Till
next
the
meeting?
next time?
We can vote on it for it. I'm sorry. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it. I have no problem with him.
Gary, but you are in favor of every other aspect of the plan. I mean, this is your district. Obviously, your citizens are impacted.
If it's got to come down there, I'm in favor of what we've talked about so far.
Or as far as this comprehensive, but the plan, you're in favor of the all 40, 50
I
pages.
don't have a problem with it, other than possibly being something that would harm some of the citizens that live back in there.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next
you for
item is the
bringing that
county attorney's report,
I have no report, Mr. Chair.
county administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things this evening. First, thank you again for the support tonight. And I certainly want to say that with a wife, 4 daughters, and a son, I'm used to getting chewed on. But I'll share with this board, like I've shared with boards in the past, you know, feel free to challenge the numbers. Don't ever hesitate to challenge the numbers, because that's what staff's here to do. If we can't answer your questions on the numbers, then we have a problem. But Jack and I will run into each other at Kroger. We'll be fine. I did want to pass along two things that we became aware of this afternoon, that the General Assembly, in their haste to get out of town Saturday, apparently took action on 2 items that are going to have a tremendous impact on the county. Not necessarily, well, one of them may have an impact on the current year, on the upcoming budget, and one will have an impact on the subsequent budget, and I'm just going to read them. Local employees to pay 5% VRS member contribution. The House and Senate enacted a legislation Saturday afternoon that requires local government employees to pay the 5% VRS member contribution beginning July the 1st. Local employers will be required to give a 5% salary increase to offset the annual contribution. Governor McDonnell will ask the General Assembly to adopt an amendment to allow the change to be phased in over 5 years. The governor's amendment will be taken up at the veto session on April 18th. That came up Saturday afternoon. And I will tell you that Delegates Yost and Rush voted against that, and Senator Edwards voted against that, just for the record. And then the other good one, Lieutenant Governor Bowling cast the deciding vote on legislation Saturday afternoon that begins shifting the responsibility to construct new secondary and urban roads from the state to local governments. All 20 Senate Democrats opposed the legislation, which was reported on Saturday by a conference committee. While the House passed the measure, the Senate remained deadlocked until Bowling cast the tie-breaking vote. And the last comment on that section is, combined with no new reliable, sustainable, and significant funding sources, with either one, an allocation formula that favors state priorities and ignores local concerns, and 2, a House budget that includes a study of options for returning the state secondary road system back to localities, It's easy to conclude that the state is looking to officially jettison its responsibility for a unitary road system and saddle local governments with the cost of building and maintaining local roads. The question, however, remains whether the General Assembly will provide local governments with the necessary revenues or just the bill. Both those happened Saturday afternoon. So just thought you'd like to know that. I do want to make one comment. I do want to commend Delegates Rush and Delegates Yost. In all my years of being in local government, this is the first time I ever remember legislators actually actively reaching out to localities and asking about bills before they pass them. Delegate Rush and Delegate Yost on several occasions sent us emails, Carol and myself emails saying, this is what we're talking about, let us know what you think. One day, Delegate Rush's office actually sent us a spreadsheet and said, won't you look at this and tell us what you think? I really sincerely appreciate that. I think the folks that have been in Richmond a lot longer than that could learn from that example. It bothers me tremendously that things like I just told you about happen on the very last day of a session that create issues for us that are going to be long-term. And you heard the conversation tonight from several citizens about their concerns about secondary roads. Folks, that's only going to get worse. And it just...
When did they go into effect? This July? Or does it say? It
doesn't say. And one of the things, like I said, we got this afternoon at 3:30. And so I don't know the impacts of either of those just yet, but I can tell you that I know citizens were in here tonight saying that you're our local officials and you need to do something. I certainly respect that. I respect the concerns that they bring forward, but I think we just need to start giving them some addresses in Richmond because that's where the buck is obviously stopping. Last comment I have tonight is I had an opportunity to speak to the Wells family briefly on Saturday, and I know, well, it touched me tremendously, and I know it did y'all too, to see them here tonight. Pug will be tremendously missed in this community, and I know that this board and a lot of the staff are going to miss his wisdom and leadership too. But that's all I have this evening.
All right.
Can I simply ask, Craig, can you forward us the email or whatever you got?
What we got this afternoon is and I'll just say this, we haven't heard anything from VACO yet. This is actually the Virginia Municipal League that goes to towns and cities, but Carol and I have ways of getting that too. This is actually what came out this afternoon at 3:12.
Okay.
And
now, may I ask a question? This 5%, whatever, it's for everybody across the board?
All local government employees.
I mean, not just new hires, but
no, ma'am.
Everybody.
Yes, ma'am. That had been, the thing that really concerns me about that is that had been talked about, but I don't think any of us were under the impression that there was going to be any action taken on that, but
right. Well,
apparently it was. The votes were taken on Saturday.
I just have one other question. I read from one of our delegates that over the years, the General Assembly has robbed the VRS of $24 billion. Mm-hmm. And that the real issue with this is that we, the people who know what's going on say that you need, this 80% business and to make your retirement system viable, and we don't have it. $24 billion, and it's going to take $18 million a year, is what I heard, for 10 years in order to get back to where we should be, just with it financed 80%.
Part of the problem with VRS is it has been underfunded, but it's been underfunded because that's been the recommendation from the governor's budget to the localities and the way it was structured, which, you know, everybody understands in a business environment you can't underfund it forever. But what the governor did in his budget this year is he said, well, it's been underfunded, let's fix that in the next 2 years. Okay, well, nobody disagrees about the fact that it's been underfunded, but to try to fix it in the economy that we're all facing right now, every day I get emails or I get updates from other communities and things going on. We've proposed a 12-cent tax increase in Montgomery County, of which nearly 10 addresses debt service. There are several communities in the eastern part of the state, well, in the city of Lynchburg even, they're recommending 10-cent tax increases, and that's just to deal with operations. That has
Just
nothing to do with the debt service. It's a scary time out there.
So the transportation then and the VRS are the problems?
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to the VRS, is this on top of what we were expecting with the school? You know, I think our number was 1.6 million for our schools and roughly around 500,000. This is on top of that as well, and we're being ordered.
Let me help you understand a little bit there. The county does pay the 5% on behalf of the employees now. And there's been discussion with new employees that you could require them to begin to pay that 5% and the county not pay it. The county elected when that first came up to continue to pay that 5% because it's been a benefit for the employees for a number of years. What we can do is we can shift that 5% we're paying to VRS and pay it to the employee and then immediately turn around and take it out of the employee's paychecks. The net effect of that to the county is going to be an increase in FICA cost. It's not going to cost the county 5% more. It'll cost the county incrementally more because we'll have to make up that additional FICA. The problem with that is the state's basically saying, well, you know, it's all well and good, we've talked about it, but oh, by the way, now you're going to start doing it, rather than giving us the option of doing it. That's the big concern. And I appreciate you bringing that up because it will not be an increase in 5% of the budget. The difference in the additional cost to us would be the incremental FICA cost. It's just another example of the state shoving something down on us and saying you're going to do this whether you want to or not.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry for all the good news.
Supervisor Tuck.
Well, one, I want to reiterate what Craig said about the Wells family, and I've only been on this board a couple of months, but I'd also done some legal work for the fire department and setting up an auxiliary. Of course, who was leading that charge and getting things done? It was Pug. And I had the pleasure of meeting him, and then at the PSA meetings, at the Planning Commission meetings, and at our meetings, he was here every single night, and giving selflessly from to our community, and I just it's a tremendous loss. Changing the subject completely, in my district, we've got some championships to celebrate. One, we won the state championship in wrestling, and two, I had the great pleasure of being able to go down to Richmond as well as Chief Brown, Supervisor Brown, and watch Christiansburg come away with another state championship. And so I would simply ask for a resolution honoring both those state champions, something to go out from Craig to the teams, and I'll wait for a second.
We can certainly, what we've traditionally done is had that as a resolution for the whole board to adopt.
Okay.
We did that with Eastern Montgomery when they made the state championship in football.
If that's what we've done in the past, I'm all for it. So
I'll second that.
Got a motion and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Vick?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
aye.
Chair Paletta?
Aye.
7 ayes.
And as we're getting ready and gearing up for the budget, I imagine that we're going to have some heated debates amongst us, the 7 that were up here. And I meant what I said early on when I first got on this board. We may disagree on some issues, but I'm willing to put whatever we disagree on, move forward. But I am looking forward to talking with all of you about how we're going to do this and what kind of tax increases that we're going to have to face. And so, again, I'm looking forward to that, looking forward to working with all of you. But, well, actually, there's no buts about it. Thank you.
Supervisor Brown.
Well, I guess Mr. Tuckman's been looking at my notes or something, because ditto on everything that he said.
Ms. Biggs?
I also want to say that Pug is a great loss, and I didn't know him until I first got on the Board of Supervisors, so this is my 17th year, and he was on the Plan Commission, and I was on the Plan Commission. I was sort of sent over from our board, and he took me under his wing, and just a pleasant, common sense, always positive person. And I was so glad to see his family night, because I was thinking, what are we going to do without Pug? You know, he was here a week ago. And so I know this might sound sort of strange, but is there any way we could have a plaque made, like they do at the Lyric Theater, a plaque made to put on the chair over there where he used to sit and just have his name on it?
Don't see
Just
it.
a little plaque. They don't cost that much. I would throw that out as a suggestion. I would personally like to see it, because then I know it was still there. Sentimental, but that's the way I feel about it. And I thought that his service was probably one of the most moving services I've ever attended in my life. And I thought it was especially touching the last call, when I looked over at the firefighters from Shawsville. There wasn't a dry eye. I just wish that I could have helped them in some manner. I mean, everyone there was really, really affected. And so he will be missed. The next thing I want to talk about is when things get settled in Richmond. I still would like to have the post-legislative dinner where our representatives come back and explain to us what all went on and that kind of thing, and we can explain to them how it's affected us. I think that's very important to have follow-up. The next thing I want to bring up is I'm sort of in the dark as to, you know, like we have the county administrator's proposed budget, but you know, it doesn't answer a lot of questions about what really is going to happen as far as cuts. And I'm especially interested in, since the school side asked for what, $8 million, and we got $3 million. Maybe the state comes with $1 million. I don't know what they do, but who knows? But that's still a lack of $4 million. I was just wondering, like, I don't think any of this has been discussed at a school board meeting, because I think everything's sort of, you know, unsettled as to what we're going to do and all that. But I really wonder, like, how do you get $4 million in cuts? I mean, are we going to have any of that information to look at? Like, it's like $4 million of cutting people out, programs out, buses out, intramurals out, you know, sports out. Because, you know, when you start looking at what's required by the state, some of that isn't required, and $4 million is a lot of money. So I was just trying to imagine what they were thinking about, but maybe they're not there yet.
Can I add just a sentence to that? I don't have a whole lot of that, but at the last school board meeting, they had a brief budget update, which was basically just information for the school board about the administrator's proposed budget. Mr. Hopkins, who gave the presentation, said something very vague about lost FTEs, but didn't specify any numbers or anything like that, and then basically said once the county passes their budget, they were going to have a budget workshop on the 25th or 26th of April. And that's all they said about the budget.
25th or 26th.
That doesn't answer a whole lot of what you were saying, but that's what I got. So.
Okay. So that's full-time teaching positions, equivalents, right? Is that okay?
And I think that's a general answer to what we received to, I know we've had a general discussion about what do these cuts impact as far as the schools, and the answer we got back was it's really too early to say. It just depends on how they shift some stuff
Right, and the reason I'm bringing this up is like I get questioned all the time by various individuals about, like they think I know things I don't know, but there's all kinds of talk out there on the street about which schools are going to be closed and where kids are going to be sent. There's talk about sending the 6th graders from Shawsville Middle School to the new elementary school and taking the 8th and 9th graders and sending them down to East Montgomery High School. There's even talk about closing my school. I mean, there's all kinds of things out there that people are talking about because they don't know either. And so I think basically then, and what I always say is I don't really know because I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen anything in writing anywhere. I haven't heard anything. So, if you get some of that, I've been getting that during the last week, and I just thought I'd bring that to your attention.
Okay. Ms. Perkins.
Well, I don't know. I'd just like to ditto what Ms. Biggs said about the funeral on Saturday. I would like to let the family know how much we appreciated Puck being around. I never actually served on any group with him, but after every meeting, after every board meeting, he always came here to my desk, where I'm sitting, and he would talk to me about some things. And I know that when I was sick and didn't come to board meetings for a while, he was very kind, kept saying, been missing you and that kind of thing. It's just a very genuine person. I do want to say one thing too. For 45 years he was the chief and he started those things. Somebody ought to say something about Mary Lee too. It not much because it was Pug's funeral and mostly what we've heard. But she had to be a very amazing woman. She had 4 children, and her husband was the chief down there for 45 years, and she had to support him. And whenever we went to anything down there in Elliston, she was always with him. Always. She really was, as they say in the vernacular, she had his back. She really did. So I think, I just want to give her great credit for, look what a wonderful family they had. And so, he's only 1 year older. He was only 1 year older than my husband is. And I think how hard it is when you've had a wonderful relationship or how hard it must be to lose someone like that very quickly. I think God was gracious to Pug, and they seem to be a family of great faith. And so I don't know. You can go on. I don't want to be maudlin or anything like that, but I don't know many people that I've met that have been as kind and as gracious as he was, and as good a public servant. I mean, a volunteer for all those years, spending his life helping other people. And anyway, I just wanted to say that. I hope we don't have a whole lot of, I agree with Chris. Chris, I appreciate what you said a while ago. I hope we just don't have a whole lot of more of this kind of bitterness as we're talking about taxes and all of the things that we may not agree on. But you are right. We need to look at where we are and try to do the best we can, and that's all we can do. So I'll shut up on that. But thank you, Chris. I do appreciate that.
Mr. Creed.
Yeah, a couple of little things. First of all, I'd like to address something that actually was brought to my attention on Sunday. I brought it to my own attention because I looked out in the audience at church and we had Girl Scout Day. And here was all these little 6, 7, 8-year-old girls. And I told them after the service that I would try to do something for them. And what I had in mind was when our boys get to be Eagle Scouts, we are now giving them some recognition through this board. And I would like to see us do the same thing for the girls when they get to be their gold award, which is the highest they can get. So with that said, I would like to make that a motion and see if we can get that done to where they can be honored.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I'll
We got a
second
motion. We have a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Perkins?
Hi.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye, and the Girl Scouts are 100 years old this year, just in case you need, I used to be one, I
Must be
throw that in.
Granny Scouts now.
Mr. Tuck?
Yeah.
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
And thank you to Mr. Creed for bringing this up.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Paulettis?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Mr. Creed, what we'll do is we'll send out, after the last discussion, we sent out letters to the district leadership to let them know that we'd do that. We'll do the same thing to the Girl Scout district leadership.
And let me mention one other thing that I think that we should do, and whether we do it or not, this board can decide. I know we have at least 2 young men in Elliston that have made Eagle Scout within the last 6, 8 months. I would like to see us get
their names.
Have them turn those names in and,
Sure.
and recognize them also.
And we also have a couple in Roanoke that we had presented a couple of weeks ago at church.
Knowing who they are.
Yeah, I've got fillers already getting that. I figured it would work.
If you can,
Okay. Now,
we'll do that. Mr. Plutus mentioned too, if you guys know of somebody that's happened recently, if you can let us know the church where they were recognized, if you've got that, we can kind of trace it back through the district and find out who they are.
I
So,
think that, when anything within the last year, maybe we should be able to to do. Okay. Now, with that said and done, I want to talk about Mary Lee Wells. She was the backbone of PUG. If you were ever down there and they had a fire, you would catch her in the kitchen cooking, waiting for those firemen to get back. Pug and I was on the highway safety board, and I can vouch for the fact that 99% of the time he'd be early. Not on time, but early.
Sure.
And always be there and usually be the last one to leave. And I stated to someone that Pug was irreplaceable. And I truly believe that. I don't think you can take 3 people. I don't know how he appears in many places, but if there was a meeting going on that affected, especially if it affected his side of the county, he was going to be there.
All right.
Pug spent 55 years, I believe it was, volunteering. And early on, back when they opened up the new firehouse. I was asked to speak, and I'm going to repeat one of the things that I said. And that is that volunteering is the single most honorable thing one can do for their country, their state, and their community. You know, you got a lot of people that will come out and help do something if they're going to get paid for it. And you have a lot of people that won't. But then you got Pug that never looked for any pay. He looked for the betterment of his community. And for that, I salute him. That's all.
Thank you, Gary. Mr. Gabriel.
I don't have too much today. I didn't get the chance to know Mr. Wells very well, but when I went to the visitation on Friday, I will just say that his family are the warmest people I've ever met in my entire life. Didn't know me from Adam, but they were so friendly and made me feel so welcome, and I mourn for them. Just a brief update from the school board meeting that happened last week. I mentioned the very brief things they said about the budget. The only other things of really substantial interest that were discussed were that there was a lot of talk about redistricting, and there is the school board is having a redistricting meeting on Thursday night, this Thursday at 7 p.m. Right here in this chamber. So if you get emails asking about that, you can direct them to that meeting. And there was discussion about the calendar, but they didn't decide anything on that. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that Auburn, the Auburn Strand, Auburn High School, and Auburn Elementary have received several large anonymous donations recently, totaling $25,000. So that's just absolutely wonderful. As the school board brought up, it'd be nice if there were other large anonymous donations as well. But we can all wish. Anyway, and that's all I have to say about that. The other thing I wanted to make everyone aware of was that I already talked to Chair Politis and Mr. Meadows about this, but I will unfortunately not be able to attend the public hearing on the budget and the tax rate on the 29th. I have to be in Nashville early the next morning, so I have to leave the night before, and so my flight will leave right when the budget hearing is starting. But I just wanted to assure everyone who's here and also who's watching at home that I'll be watching the public hearing afterwards. And as you all know, I answer all the emails that I get, so probably you're sick of hearing from me too. Anyway, finally, the last thing that I wanted to add was that it's unfortunate that some of the people who spoke during public comment are not here anymore. One of the things that I wanted to make people aware of, and I hope that we can do this, is I think we understand that whatever happens with the budget is that people on fixed income are absolutely going to suffer, and that they need to know that there are tax relief programs in place in Montgomery County for people on fixed incomes, for senior citizens, veterans, people who are on disability. And so I would hope that we can do a better job of publicizing that and making sure that people who really need that help can take advantage of those programs which are already in place. So, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Matt. I have an invitation from Virginia Cares to become part of their state board, and I've passed a copy to everybody here, and I need the board's support to be able to do that. And it doesn't guarantee I'm going to get it. They're picking 15 out of the state, but Terry Smuz from NRVCS has requested me and nominated me basically for the board. I've served on the Virginia Cares Board since its inception in Montgomery County, I guess about 4 years ago. I've not been an active member for the last 2 due to many reasons, but she felt like my participation with the local board she felt like I would be a good candidate for the state board. So I don't know if I need a motion or...
Tim, you have my support.
Can we just do that by consensus, or do we have to have a...
Can we do it by...
Consensus or a motion?
Pardon?
consensus or a motion, either one, whichever.
Just consensus is probably good enough.
Consensus,
Thumbs up to me.
All right. Now let me give a couple of statements about Mr. Wells and Mrs. Wells, Marilee. I was really surprised to see her here tonight, and I was so happy. She followed him to our meetings as long as he was coming. I don't think she missed a meeting at our board meetings. He generally came to the PSA meeting by himself, but she was always here for our board meetings. I met Pug actively, I guess. When I first became on the Transportation Safety Board, he was a member, and I met Supervisor Brown at the same time. And these were two people you could warm up to immediately. They never met a stranger. And over the last several years with Pug on the Fire Rescue Commission, I've consulted him about several things just to get a perspective of, what the whole picture looked like. And I also talked with Mr. Brown. Now I went to the funeral on Saturday along with several of us. And I do want to commend and thank one of our county staff for his prayers, and his heartfelt was Neil Turner. And he didn't have it dry either, I'll tell you. It was tough. It was tough on all those people. But we can remember him for all the great things he did and how he touched all of us on the board and in the county, because he was all over the county between Planning Commission and PSA liaison and our liaison here and Fire and Rescue Commission. They're just, he was very, very a part of this community. And my prayers and heart goes out to the family, which I had an opportunity to meet the other day, and just, he'll be missed.
Absolutely.
And if there's no other business,
Can I just wonder if we want to consider something that Ms. Biggs had suggested about the
do we want to do a motion on that? Or
I'll move it.
for the,
To do it, we can serve.
I just want a little plaque to go on the chair with his name on it. Like they do at the lyrics, it's like a little metal plaque. Because
You want it on the back of the chair or the arm of the chair?
I put
I'm
it on the
thinking
arm, I think.
like on
He
the
usually
arm,
set
Yeah.
about midway down there.
because,
We'll design something nice to put on there, just
yeah, I mean, just
in memory of.
as like a remembrance, because I don't think in my public life, I've never seen a citizen like Pug that, it was all unselfish. And it was all, he was supportive, he was not judgmental, he was just always there when you needed him. Like I said in the paper, he was the go-to guy, and when you looked out there and saw the calmness and just, a great sense of humor, but everything was sort of in perspective when he was there. And so I just think it would be neat, because then you'd have the plaque there.
So you're moving that, and I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Palotis?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, if there's no further business, I move we adjourn. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And Mike, and I'm going to talk when he's